Commercial transport unions resume crucial crisis meeting with officials at the Transport Ministry over shortage of commercial vehicles and traffic congestion. We're live with some details. Also, Interior Ministry extends ongoing Gun Amnesty Programme by an additional 2 weeks, following what authorities describe as an encouraging public response. And much later on the program, fire outbreak rips through part of the Dagombaline slum in Kumasi, reducing several makeshift structures to ashes and leaving scores of residents homeless. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. The Ministry of Transport, the Minister for Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, is meeting some transport operators in the country to discuss the current transportation hikes in Ghana. Transportation in Accra has worsened in recent days, with commuters facing long queues and inflated fares, particularly during peak period. The situation intensified over the 2025 U-tide and continues to affect passengers in areas such as Medina, Amasama and Kaswa, despite assurances from the Transport Minister that measures are being implemented to resolve the challenge. And shortly, we'll be crossing over to my colleague Noble Korsbianan, who is monitoring that meeting and will bring us the latest on that. We stay on transport because a few years ago, a new commuter train service linked Second-D and Takoradi, offering a faster, cheaper alternative to the area's traffic and a boost to its economy. But that service is no longer working, leaving behind a silent rail track and a legacy of broken promises. Irama Smith has more in this report.
The rumble of wheels on steel and the deep blast of its horn evokes memories of Ghana's railway heyday in the 1970s and 80s. For the older generation, there is a wave of nostalgia. For the young, a novel adventure with children boarding in wide-eyed excitement. This was the revived Second-D Takoradi line, not merely a track, but the birthplace of Ghana's railway system, originally built to transport minerals to the coast. The deterioration of these freight lines and the subsequent halt of manganese trains crippled the company's finances. This collapse revealed a critical systemic flaw. The passenger service was not economically viable on its own. Consequently, by 2020, with its freight backbone gone, the diesel multiple unit DMUs at Second-D were silenced.
From Kwame Nkrumah's time and even through Achampon's time, railways have always received subvention from government for operations. This is what we came to meet and work with. So it is government who determines the fare for rail transport, and we use that to buy fuel. But this is not forthcoming. Before the elections in 2016, we were working, but this came to a halt in 2016 because the government said it would not pay any subvention.
Today, the two terminals stand as pale shadows of their former selves. In Second-D, the diesel multiple unit DMUs sit idle and scavenged. Their copper pipes and air conditioning units stripped away. Passenger bays lie open to the elements, their roofs torn apart, while weeds and rust claim the tracks. Passenger revival is directly tied to this expansion. Restoring the line to Takwa would reconnect mining towns to the port, and create a compelling case for frequent suburban service. More connected towns mean higher ridership and greater fare revenue, creating a far more sustainable model than the previous shuttle. Irama Smith, Kojokrum.
Let's return to earlier one about that meeting with the Transport Ministry. Noble Crosby-Annan is my colleague monitoring that meeting. He joins us live. Noble, what can you tell us? Hello, Crosby. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Beatrice.
Excellent. What can you tell us about this crisis meeting with the Transport Ministry?
Well, this meeting is underway as I speak with you. It's a closed-door meeting between the Transport Ministry and some private sector operators. We understand that GPRTU is there fully represented, engaging with the Minister on how to find a lasting solution to the transport crisis we find ourselves in. Now, this meeting is coming on the back of previous engagements the ministry had with these operators, and that meeting was inconclusive. If you remember, last week the Vice President herself was at the Transport Ministry where she met with some other ministers, including the Minister for Local Government, as well as some other private transport operators. So that meeting was inconclusive. That meeting cannot come to an end. So firstly, an agreement was not reached. That's the need for the continuation of that engagement today. So that is what is ongoing. And the agenda is one, that we should solve the transport crisis we are facing in the country. Already some proposals have been made by government, by some state agencies, Metro Mars, by Alolo, amongst others. And GPRT is also making a few recommendations or a few calls so that collectively we can find a solution to what we are experiencing now. So the meeting is underway. We have no idea when the meeting will end, but of course we'll be here and they will engage with some of the stakeholders when they come out, and we'll know how the meeting went and what the next line of action will be.
Thank you very much, Noble Crosby-Annan, my colleague there, monitoring that meeting at the Transport Ministry, and with the Minister, of course, Joseph Bukari Nikpe, with transport operators in the country. We'll bring you more on this, but let's bring you this for now. Former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who was detained by the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, is expected to appear before a judge tomorrow. That's Tuesday, the 20th of January. Ahead of that appearance, Ghana's ambassador to the United States, Victor Emmanuel Smith, says that he has been told by the former minister's cousin, Gabi Asare-Okyere-Darko, that Ken Ofori-Atta is unwilling to return to the country to answer corruption charges against him over how he may be treated. Listen to Ambassador Victor Smith speaking earlier on Key Point.
I had a call from Gabi Okyere-Darko. He expressed that worry. And I assured him that he will have to go through the due process. I mean, everybody goes through a due process of law. So they're not going to be like, people are not going to attack him. We don't behave like that. He and that Ken himself, by his own doings, being evasive with the OSP arrest, have created this brouhaha around his case. So that is the point. So don't let nobody get me wrong. It was not my own view. It was a view expressed by Gabi Okyere-Darko, who is a relative of his. He made a call to me, and I said, I wanted to have an opportunity to assure him that he would have to go through the due process like anybody else goes through the due process. So that anxiety, the fear and everything was expressed by Gabi.
And he had Ghana's ambassador to the U.S., Victor Emmanuel Smith. For Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bento, the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, is not in Ghana not because he fears the charges leveled against him.
I know that Ken would like to come back, but he's apprehensive about how he'll be treated because of the kinds of things that have been said and done in the past 1 year. And look, let us all, step back and be sober about these things. We all want accountability, okay? And if we are going to believe what Ambassador Smith is saying, then Ken himself wants to come and clear his name. And Ofori-Atta is apprehensive because somebody thinks that the day he steps into this country, he will be locked up in a cell and the key will be thrown away. If you are Ken, or if Ken is your brother, or if Ken is your father.
But Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, said that the former finance minister is simply trying to evade accountability.
That Ken has no difficulty coming, except that he is worried about how he will be treated.
You don't believe it?
I don't believe it.
Why?
You see, it is a contrived excuse. Because I will assess Ken by his conduct, not by his words. Everything he has done here shows that he's been trying to evade justice. That is all. The man has tried to evade justice for a year or so. Yeah. So, near say so by himself or people close to him that he would like to come, but he is afraid of how he will be treated, does not catch eyes with me. Number two, what has happened in this country that is so extraordinary in terms of how we treat persons accused of crime that Ken Ofori-Atta is afraid of? What has happened?
And the Minister in charge of Government Communications, Felix Kwakye-Ofosu, meanwhile, Pressure Group Arise Ghana has announced plans for an indefinite picket at the U.S. Embassy in Accra from tomorrow, the 20th of January, to demand the extradition of the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta to face some 78 corruption-related charges in Ghana. I'm joined by Bernard Mona, who is a member of the group. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why do you believe that going to picket to the U.S. Embassy is the way to get Ken Ofori-Atta extradited to Ghana?
Where is Ken Ofori-Atta now?
The answer is obvious. We know where he is.
So Ken is with the United States of America. And for several months, the government of Ghana, through allied institutions, have asked the United States of America to aid the return of Ken Ofori-Atta to the Republic of Ghana for due processes to be followed. In relation to his stewardship in office, all attempts have failed, and therefore Pressure Group Arise Ghana has chosen that we will picket at the United States Embassy in Accra indefinitely till such a day that the U.S. finds it needful that the people of Ghana deserve the right to our own, so that we'll be able to interrogate the many charges that have been leveled upon him. I'm sure that this should not come to you as news. Arise Ghana was one of the pressure groups at the inception of Ken's administration of finance in this country that protested on the electronic transfer levy and indicated how inimical it was going to be for the people of Ghana. Arise Ghana protested on the National Cathedral and the wasteful expenditures that were being given to the officers and officials involved. Arise Ghana, you recall, protested and joined many, including pensioner bondholders, on the issue of the domestic debt exchange and all that. All these things that we're protesting was to save our nation from further decay. Ken Ofori-Atta decided to pay deaf ears to us. And soon after President Nana Akufo-Addo exited power, Ken left the shores of Ghana on the 6th of January, a day before the swearing-in. Since then, he has used one trick upon the other to refuse to come and account for his stewardship. The U.S. cannot be an abettor of the crimes of Ken Ofori-Atta, and therefore we have chosen to picket at the U.S. Embassy starting tomorrow.
Mr. Mona, I remember clearly that I actually spoke to you personally in front of Parliament when you did that protest. But the import of the question is, this is a legal process. How does picketing influence any decision to just release somebody who is being taken through a legal process?
What is legal process about somebody that the U.S. itself had admitted that has expired or overstayed his visa? And in any case, the legal process that the people of Ghana are requiring is that Ken should come and face justice. Why is the U.S. denying or declining to allow Ken Ofori-Atta to come to Ghana?
The U.S.
and
officials...
Yet the U.S. is able to fly drones, to fly personnel and military planes, to go to Venezuela to go and capture a president that they think that the United States need to put him before the justice system.
Mr. Mona, we had the U.S. issuing a statement saying that they were not going to obstruct Ghana from extraditing Ken Ofori-Atta back to the country. So that may not necessarily be true.
The issuance of a statement is not the same as they have extradited him. Is it the same?
Go ahead with your point.
If it is not, then we are expecting Ken Ofori-Atta. And as we said, our protest or our picketing is indefinite. So till such a time that the U.S. eventually hand over Ken Ofori-Atta to the officials in Ghana, we will be at the embassy of the United States of America.
How prepared are your members?
Oh, as I speak to you, we are currently in my office having final meetings to see how we can go there tomorrow. Each and every person is going there on your own. And so as we sit here, we are about 9 of us already. And so even if it takes 9 of us, we are ready to protest. After all, the important thing is to convey the message, but I'm sure that many other people will join us upon hearing you interview me this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mona. And Bernard Mona is part of Arise Ghana that is currently preparing to picket the U.S. Embassy in Ghana towards the aim of getting the embassy to help Ghana release Ken Ofori-Atta back to Ghana. And we'll bring you an update. That picketing is tomorrow at the U.S. Embassy right here in Accra. Now, the Accra High Court has set Friday, the 23rd of January, to hear the injunction application filed by the Vehicles Enforcement Association against implementation of DVLA's digital number plate system. The plaintiffs, over 30 endorsement companies, are asking the court to prevent the DVLA from implementing any alternative arrangement for the endorsement and supply of vehicle number plates outside the existing framework that involves licensed embossers. Jojo Bruce Kwanzaa actually speaks for the group.
Yeah, we were hoping that even with the adjournment, the judge would have granted our injunction. But unfortunately, you know, it's government institution. They will be losing money. So the judge is also taking those things into consideration. And so we have agreed. We are coming on Friday to see what goes on.
What is the motivation in having these numbers in courts anytime the case is coming up?
Well, we told the DVLA that all over the country we have about 3,000 workers. And these are people we've been working with. I have been working with some of them for the past 10 years. Some have been working for over 20 years, some 25 years, some 30 years. So if all of a sudden, one day you ask them to go home, then what do you expect them to do? I mean, in this kind of situation, they have nowhere to go. So we ask them to come to court so that the DVLA will see that it's not just talk, but we actually have the staff.
And he had Kojo Bruce Kwanzaa. He speaks for the group that's the Vehicles Enforcement Association, currently in court against the DVLA's digital number plate system. Lord Adwasari is our court affairs correspondent. He joins us live on the phone. Lord, if you can tell us what transpired in court today.
Well, Beatrice, so at the last adjourned date, the judge directed lawyers for the Vehicle Enforcement Association to serve the writ and injunction processes to the lawyers of the DVLA. Now, in court today, the lawyers for the DVLA indicated to the court that after they were served with the written injunction, the VEMAC did not respond with their affidavit in opposition after they filed after serving with the writ. And so the judge asked them to do that, and then later on adjourn the matter to this Friday to hear the injunction application itself. And so we are back in court on Friday for the court to hear the injunction application, where the VEMAC, or the Vehicle Enforcement Association, is praying the court to restrain the DVLA from implementing their new number plate system. Now, this new number plate, according to the plaintiffs in the matter, which is the VEMAC, they are saying that DVLA has given the embossment or the new number plate system to an individual, and so they are praying the court to restrain this from being implemented at all. So that's why we are basically in court now. On Friday, the court will hear the injunction application, after which we will know when they will hear the writ in itself.
I know that the Wontimi case was also scheduled for today. If you can tell us whether that has taken place as well.
Indeed, I just basically just walked out of that hearing. It's currently ongoing. They just called the case. Now, the prosecution's second witness, by name Henry Okum, a small-scale miner, he's been testifying. Now, at the last agenda, he told the court that Wontimi had transferred, or Wontimi had permitted him to mine at Summerboy, in the other Summerboy concession, where Wontimi's Akwanta mining owns a concession and mines. So today he's continuing with this cross-examination by lawyers.
We lost Lord Edwasar there, who is our court affairs correspondent. Let's bring in some more here. The Minister for the Interior has extended the ongoing Gun Amnesty Programme by an additional 2 weeks, following what authorities describe as an encouraging public response. The extension, which takes effect from the 16th of January to 30th January 2026, was announced with the support of the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. The initial amnesty period began on the 1st of December 2025 and was scheduled to end on the 15th of January. According to the authority, the extension is intended to provide more time for individuals, particularly those in hard-to-reach communities, to voluntarily surrender or register unlicensed and illicit firearms without fear of interrogation, arrest, or prosecution. The Commission, however, has issued a strong caution that the amnesty window will not be extended beyond the 30th of January. It says security agencies will intensify enforcement operations after the deadline, and anyone found in possession of an unregistered or illicit firearm will be arrested and prosecuted in accordance with the law. Let's speak to security and fraud consultant Richard Kumado. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Beatrice.
How significant is the public response to the Gun Amnesty Programme so far? Does it tell any, story about the scale of illicit firearms circulation in the country?
The Minister of Interior and the Small Arms have not said to us how many guns they have retrieved so far, but they have this objective that one gun in the hands of illegitimate person can cause so much damage. So to that regard, their objective is to extend it and make sure they retrieve as many guns as possible. In that regard, I support them. That if there are guns in the hands of illegitimate people or people who have not registered their guns, there's a need to retrieve those guns. Within this period, I would suggest that we need to increase public education, create awareness more, and persuade people to take advantage of the amnesty period, knowing very well that there could be harsh penalties or harsh realities faced people who did not take advantage.
Indeed, and they've made it clear that they're going to crack the whip after the 30th of January. How would you expect them to sail through some of the challenges they may encounter?
I think open communication is key. Once people are aware that they are not going to go through interrogation like they prescribe, then they will spread a message for them on their own. But if they have not configured the system and there's no convergence criteria, then people will be hesitant. And I think that is one of the challenges they face so far. Broad public education was also a challenge for them. But we thank you in the media for creating a platform for we to speak about it. I believe many more people are listening to us this afternoon, and they will take advantage of the amnesty period to submit their guns to the police.
Indeed, chiefs and religious leaders still have a major role in terms of shaping public opinion and convincing individuals. At this stage, what would you expect them to do as well?
I think there's a segmented area. We have done the nationwide risk assessment. Guns peddling, drug peddling, and use of illicit arms was one of the elements we pick out. And the report is available. They know the communities where we have this huge number of guns. They will need to persuade them. They will need to provide a remedy for them. And the chiefs and the elders of these communities will have to be convinced and persuaded. You also have a chunk of traditional authorities that have armories where they have these guns in there. There has to be a little bit of accreditation from the Ghana Police Service, and their fears will have to be allayed that they are not taking their guns from them to make them vulnerable. If these discussions can take place and people will be persuaded, I think they'll be willing to submit many of these guns into the amnesty program, and the police will collect these guns.
Mr. Kumado, thank you so much for speaking to
Beatrice.
us.
I'm grateful.
You had Richard Kumado. He's a fraud and security consultant. I did tell you about that story about rail lines and the fact that many are asking for the country to also look at alternative means of transportation beyond road to help deal with the congestion and the issue of the shortage of commercial vehicles. My colleague Christian Yali boarded a train this morning from Tema to Accra. This is the report he brought us.
It's 6:30 a.m. at Adogono, one of the train stations along the Tema-Accra rail line. People had already gathered, waiting for the arrival of the train to board. Tickets sell at 8 cedis for economy and 10 cedis for first class. Myself, I need to join this, and then my cameraman would also join me inside so that we get to move with the other passengers who are at Dogono's train station. Indeed, when you look at the history of Ghana's railway system, you would realize that over the years, it has been largely focused in the south. Now, for the past few years, a number of the government have attempted to undertake expansion of the railway system to extend the lines to other rail lines. There is massive encroachment. Now people stay very closer to this area such that that encroachment and how their sewage continue to share their experiences and how convenient or otherwise it is joining this coach instead of using public transport. But you realize that, as it were,
it's better than using public transport.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. And so she really believes that it is better using the train or focusing attention on the train system so that we get to ease congestion. Maybe I should just grab a seat for a while. Standing is not easy. But we are on the way. On our way to Accra, to Circle, to Accra Mall. And once in a while you hear the horn, also to signal that caution that there is a train on the way, because when you look across, when you look around, you realize
Okay, we've lost Ibrahim Abubakar on the line. And we'll bring you some more in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Log on to SriNews.com for more news.
FM 92.7. Coming up, a new VAT Act implementation delivers immediate relief to Ghanaian consumers.
There is a savings of 1.9% as a result of the implementation of the new VAT Act. All the shops that we have gone today, we can confirm that all of them are complying with the law.
Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana COPEC projects relative price stability in the next pricing window if the cedi remains stable.
When that stability is maintained till the next pricing window, the happenings on the international market really will not have so much of an effect at the export.
And much later, government raises 10.05 billion cedis in treasury bill auction as oversubscription streak continues amid steady yields. We'll bring you details of that. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. And the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana COPEC has projected relative stability in fuel prices at the pumps, provided the government is able to sustain the stability of the local currency. The outlook comes in the wake of recent geopolitical tensions following United States intervention in Venezuela. Fuel prices have already recorded 2 consecutive reductions this year. The Chamber's head of research, Paul Ofori, has stressed the need to keep the cedi stronger in order to maintain the current trend.
We hope that the synergy between the monetary policies and the fiscal policies of both the BOG and then the Finance Ministry will continue to work. If that happens, then it means that the cedi will be stabilized. When that stability is maintained till the next pricing window, the happenings on the international market really will not have so much of an effect at the export. But where you have the cedi depreciating, that is where the challenge is. And so even though we have seen some level of increases on the international market currently, I do not see any direct effect at the next pricing window. But like I said, again, it is dependent on the outcome of the cedi throughout the 2-week window.
So that was Paul Ofori. He's the head of research at the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana COPEC. Now, away from that, government successfully exceeded its financing target in the latest treasury bill auction held on January 16, 2026, signaling continued investor appetite for short-term government debt. Government initially aimed to raise 7.149 billion cedis across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors. However, the auction saw a significant oversubscription, with total bids from investors reaching 10.087 billion cedis. Of this amount, the government opted to accept 10.057 billion cedis, slightly less than the total tendered, but well above the original target. This report has more.
The successful auction comes at a time when government is managing high liquidity needs for budget financing and maturing debt obligations. Despite the high subscription rate, government maintained a disciplined approach by not accepting the full volume of bids likely to manage interest expense. For the 91-day bill, offers totaled 2.754 billion cedis, while government accepted 2.744 billion cedis at a yield of 11.19%. For the 182-day bill, bids amounted to 2.718 billion cedis, with government accepting 2.708 billion cedis at interest rate of 12.65%. The 364-day bill emerged as the largest contributor to the auction's success, reflecting a preference for the longer end of the short-term yield curve. The 364-day bill witnessed bids tendered totaling 4.614 billion cedis, while government accepted 4.604 billion cedis at a yield of 12.98%. Looking ahead, government has set an even more ambitious target for its next auction, seeking to raise 9.825 billion cedis. Market analysts will be watching closely to see if the current yield levels, ranging from 12.19% to 12.98%, will be sufficient to attract the nearly 10 billion cedis required this week.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. We bring you more stories now, and the implementation of the new Value Added Tax VAT Act 2025 Act 1151 is reportedly running smoothly across the country, according to the Commissioner in charge of the Domestic Tax Revenue Division at the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, Dr. Martin Yamborga, speaking during a recent monitoring exercise to assess the impact of the reforms which officially took effect on January 1, 2026. Dr. Yamborga revealed that the new tax structure has already resulted in an average savings of 1.9% for consumers at the point of sale.
And there is a savings of 1.9% as a result of the implementation of the new VAT Act. All the shops that we have gone today, we can confirm that all of them are complying with the law. They themselves are happy that the system is simplified. They have also testified that they are also happy because their prices have reduced, and that will also help their consumers. We've spoken to a few customers or consumers who have also expressed satisfaction in the implementation of the law because the prices they are paying now is less than what they were paying before the implementation. So generally, it's been good, and we want to encourage every Ghanaian, wherever that you are, that please let us all implement the new law, and let's make sure that consumers have the benefit of the reduction. To the consumers, our appeal is that please, anytime you make a purchase, demand a VAT invoice. That is the only way that those who are charging us the taxes can account for the taxes.
So that was Dr. Martin Kobil Ayamborga. He is the Domestic Tax Revenue Division Commissioner at the Ghana Revenue Authority, bringing an end to Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. And for more stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obudu. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please stay safe. Up next is Urban Blend, and Black Rasta is on standby. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.